British author, and it actually is considered a children's series, but kind of like Harry Potter. I think it has a universal appeal. It doesn't really matter what age you are. And there's some relatively advanced themes, but it is not banned for wild sex. It is not banned for horrific violence, or it is not banned for forbidden lust. But it is an allegory. In Britain, Golden Compass was published under the title Northern Lights in 1995. It is the first book in a trilogy called His Dark Materials. The other two books are The Amber Spyglass and Subtle Knife. There was a 2007 movie. Has anybody seen the movie? What did you think of the movie?
I didn't much care for it, honestly.
Good. Okay. Because they had this marvelous cast, great actors, wonderful special effects for 2007. And as I say in my notes, a script I want to just rip out of somebody's hands and completely rewrite because they got it all wrong. They just, okay. It's worth it probably maybe just to visualize some of the things, but the movie was dreadful. BBC is redoing the entire trilogy. So trust the BBC. They do good work. Why is it banned? It's usually in the top 10 of depending on where you are, of course, of all banned books. It is banned because, according to critics, it promotes atheism, and it specifically attacks the Catholic Church, and it attacks Christianity in general. The interesting part to me, Pullman doesn't deny this. Pullman himself is an atheist. But this is what he says, and I have two quotes from him from The Guardian, which is a major newspaper in Britain. Quote, "In my view, belief in God seems to be a very good excuse on the part of those who claim to believe for doing many wicked things that they wouldn't feel justified in doing without such a belief." And I think that's interesting as a historian because, of course, I think about things like the Crusades, the witch hunts, the Inquisition, things like this. So, take it or leave it. So what's it about? It's an alternate world, sort of what we would call alternate history. It's set mostly at Oxford in Britain. Anybody ever been to Britain, Oxford? Okay, never mind, it's okay, you don't have to be. And the Arctic, sort of Scandinavia. But it's our world, and yet it's not. And I think the big difference, human souls reside exterior to one's body. So your soul is not in, it's out. Plus, these human souls take the form of animals called daemons. So everybody in this particular world has a daemon. The lead character, Lyra, she has a daemon called Pentalemon. Another character has probably my favorite daemon. Lee Scoresby's an American. He has this kind of feisty Texas long-legged hare, like like a big giant rabbit, who's tough and sassy, and I really like her. Oh, and you might notice that usually women have male demons and men have female demons. Okay? So daemons actually reflect, and this is the cool part. Well, first of all, they can't stray far from their humans. So your daemon might be able to go as far as that table. But if the further they try to go away from you, it causes physical pain. There's one group of people in the book, the witches, who live in the north. Their demons can go far away, and they usually are birds. It is also just like we would not touch someone inappropriately, if we're a decent person, to touch someone else's demon is just absolutely verboten. That's just unthinkable. It's just horrific. The idea is just horrifying. But daemons tend to reflect their humans, which kind of, if you think about it, if they are indeed a soul, makes sense. For example, if a human was a very, say, physically strong, tough person, he or she, might have a leopard for a demon, and one of the characters does. Those who are people who are fast and clever might have something like a mink or a weasel. And daemons do things seriously, like sit on your shoulder and advise you and give you moral advice. The reason why I think people love these books has really nothing to do with the controversy against it or for it, but the characters in the story are incredibly compelling. It's just like C.S. Lewis, who is a strongly Christian author. People, regardless of their faith, love his books because they're such wonderful stories, a wonderful adventure. This is the reason I think people like Philip Pullman as well. So the story follows our main character, Lyra, and her demon, Pentalemon. A good friend of hers appears to be quote-unquote kidnapped. I'm not going to give anything away. She lives at Oxford. She's about 11 or 12. She's a wild thing. I don't know how to describe it. She's always running across the tops of buildings and jumping in bushes and kind of headstrong and feisty. But she is very loyal. She is very devoted to her friends. And this is what drives her, along with being insatiably curious. Because she is not yet an adult, she has not completed adolescence, Pentalemon changes forms. Sometimes Pentalemon is a butterfly, sometimes he's a mouse, sometimes he's a squirrel, sometimes he's you name it. But until characters finish puberty, demons are not static. And once you finish puberty though, your demon takes a permanent form and can't ever change again. And again, remember that the daemon, or demon, I say daemon, is a reflection of your soul. And if you think about this, this makes sense, because humans cross both, I would say, a physical and psychological threshold at puberty, and we all sort of, it's true, I think, reach and get through puberty at different ages. For some people it may be 12, and others it may be 15. So again, in the books, they reflect that. She leaves Oxford to search for a friend of hers. Along the way, she meets people of various interesting characters. They are the, not Egyptians and not gypsies, but the Egyptians who master the waterways. They have boats. They know how to get all around England and sail different places. The witches, the American Lee Scoresby, but one of the more interesting characters, and his picture's on the book that Kelly put on the door, is Aoric Bernizon, and he is a Penzerbjorn. He's a war bear. He can talk, but most animals can't talk, nor do they have daemons, and neither do any of the bears, the talking bears. They don't have demons, and in fact, one of the story threads is some of those bears, since they can talk, think they deserve demons, and that's one of the things that moves the plot along, I guess you could say. Am I doing all right? Would you agree with all this? Okay. So I mentioned Hester, and the bears have a very complex society, and I think the bears are some of my favorite characters as well. Lyra's story kind of reaches a cliffhanger in The Golden Compass. Her story continues with some other characters in the next 2 books. And Pullman has started a prequel with Lyra as a baby, and the first book came out this summer, and I finished it, and it was very good. She and the characters experience victory, they experience loss. All throughout the books, they have to make very hard choices that involve physical, spiritual, and emotional pain. And I think this is very deliberate on the part of Pullman. Why do I like the book? The fantastic characters, what the characters do. They usually end up making the right choices even though they suffer for it. But they make the right decisions. And I think the setting of Oxford is very cool as well. Philip Pullman's beliefs don't affect the quality of the book, and I personally could care less because it's a great book. And this is what he says about his book being banned. I trust the reader, I trust the audience, I trust them to have the sense to see what qualities the book is championing, such as kindness, love, courage, and courtesy. So, as my little interactive activity,